This is Eat, Sleep, Invest, the marketing podcast for real estate investors to get more deals. Hey, welcome back again to another episode of Eat, Sleep, and Invest. I'm your host, Bryan Driscoll, and I'm here with my good friend, Dustin Singer from Pittsburgh, PA. Hey, what's going on, Dustin?
What's up, Bryan? Thanks for having me on today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, sure thing. Hey, so guys, the reason I have Dustin on here, he's an interesting guy. He's got a lot of experience in real estate. But main thing we're going to talk about today is sales. Like, what do you do whenever you get a lead? You get a lead. Like, what do you do? How do you take them to convert? So Dustin's a flipper. He does wholesaling. He's has buy and hold, invests in syndication, and does some JV stuff too. So Dustin, why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. My wife and I started flipping, I think in 2018 it was, beginning of 2018. I was still working full-time construction job. Did 2 flips, some, stuff happened at work. I ended up, leaving that job, went into this full time, I think beginning of 2019 and haven't looked back since. We've kind of had our hands in a little bit of everything. So just like you said, Bryan, like flips, rentals, invest in some syndications, do a little bit of hard money lending, just everything real estate related, really. Yeah,
cool. So, and that's interesting too, because from 2019 to 2021, that's only 2 years. So,
Yeah.
So, I mean, people thinking about getting into stuff too. It's not like you got to spend 10, 15 years to jump into it.
No, you don't.
Yeah. How many deals you do this year?
We got like 2 weeks left. We'll probably be around like 42, 43.
All right, cool. What's the breakdown like? Like wholesales, flips, rentals?
Yeah. So we did about 10 rental rehabs this year. We only did 2 flips. We've been shying away from flips for the past year or so. And then the rest of those were wholesale deals.
Yeah, cool. What do you like the best?
Wholesaling.
Yeah. That's a lot easier, right?
It's the easiest. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, that's cool. So, okay. So basically I want to cut into it. Like, so Dustin is the king of sales. Like he knows how to find out what people are looking for. So we want to walk through that process. So Dustin, say someone comes through your website, they fill out a form on your site. Like what happens?
So the first thing that happens is, a lot of people have heard the term speed to lead. A lot of times it's me and one acquisition person. So we can't necessarily get to someone right away, or it's 2:00 in the morning, whatnot. First thing that happens, they get a text message immediately. And, it pretty much just says, hey, thanks for filling out our form. We received your information. We'll give you a call as soon as possible. In the meantime, if you'd like to book a time with us that's convenient for you, here's our link. Here's our calendar link.
Solid. So that's like even 2 a.m, you get a Google pay-per-click lead. They're clicking I'm in Pittsburgh too. So they're clicking your website. They're clicking my website. If they click yours first, you give them that calendar link. So they may stop clicking the next person. Like it kind of stops them in their tracks there.
They could. We find that the most motivated people are the people that book Calendly. 100%.
Yeah. That's a huge tip too. Cause we do the same thing. Like calendars are huge to gauge motivation. Let's say they don't book the appointment. What do you do?
If they do not book the appointment, then they pretty much just fall into the regular process of, we start calling them hopefully that day. But of course, if it's outside of business hours, they would get hit, first thing in the morning around 8:00 or something like that. And we pretty much just have a series of phone calls, automated text, and emails that go out to that prospect on each call attempt. So we're pretty much attempting to call them 6 times, usually 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. After each of those phone calls, they go through a different slide on our CRM, and that sends out automation triggers for a text and an email.
All right, cool. You know what? Maybe we can get into automations in a little bit later too, because that's another interesting part, like how to automate it to make sure to stay in front of these people.
Sure.
All right, cool. So you get these people on the phone. What do you say? What do you do?
So the first thing that we do, and I honestly believe that this is one of the most important parts of the sales process. And I didn't believe this until I heard it. I never did it for a long time. And anyway, I'll get back to that in a second. What it is I call it the upfront contract. That's a term coined by someone else that I learned it from. But pretty much what that is when you have an initial sales call. So this is a warm lead. They reached out to you. These aren't cold leads. However, they don't know me from a can of paint, right? So the first thing that we want to do is just set an initial expectation with them so that they know exactly what it is that this initial phone call is going to accomplish. So, it's a real quick, like 1 minute type script deal. It's pretty much, hey, first of all, you want to thank them. Hey, thanks for reaching out. Appreciate you filling out the form. Thanks for reaching out and having an interest in selling your house with us. Real quick before we get started, I just wanted to give you an idea of what this phone call is going to be like. So we want to go with the objective of the seller, right? The objective of our company in this phone call, what the potential outcome could be after this phone call is completed. And then also one of the most important parts is the time allotted. Because you get a call from a telemarketer, right? And they're trained to yes, just to keep you on the phone as long as possible, right? We're total opposite. We're fans of no, which is like reverse negative selling, they call it. Time allotted. Hey, this phone call is probably going to take 15 minutes. Do you have 15 minutes set aside to talk to me? And if we go over the 15-minute mark, I'll just make sure to chime in and say, hey, we're at 15 minutes. You told me I could have 15 minutes. Can we continue the phone call if we need to? It relieves so much pressure off of your prospect that when you go into the next step, which is like bonding rapport and motivation, you've released all this tension. So if you start asking questions that could be perceived as, personal questions, they don't feel like that you're trying to pry into their personal life. You already explained, hey, we want to get a good idea if we're a good fit for you, if our company is a good fit for you. I need to understand your situation. And in terms of you telling me your situation, I'll be able to determine whether or not I have a solution that's applicable for your situation. And of course, too, you want to invite them to ask them any questions they possibly have about the process, your company, the whole 9 yards.
Okay, cool. And that's interesting too. So you're basically saying, so you get them on the phone, give me the 15-second pitch. Like talk to me like I'm a guy. Hey, Dustin, I just filled out a form on your website. I'm thinking about selling my house.
Okay. Here we go. Hey, Bryan, thanks for taking out the time to fill out our form and reaching out to us about potentially selling your house. Hey, I just wanted to give you a real quick rundown of how this phone call is going to go so there's no surprises on your end, right? Of course, you probably have some questions for me. Most people do. I'd invite you to ask any questions you possibly have about how this process works, how our company works, anything like that. Pretty much the goal of this conversation is to get a good idea of what you're trying to accomplish in selling your property, what our company can best do to help you accomplish that, and if we have a proper solution in order to do so. After this call is over, we'll both be able to make a determination of, hey, the next step's going to be we come out to your house and do a property assessment. If you like the way this conversation went, then we'll set up a time to come out to the house. And if you don't, that's totally okay too. We can part ways as friends and know we gave it a good shot. Do you have any questions going into this so far?
Yeah, and see, that's huge too, because like you were saying, it most people, whenever they're on the phone, they got their guard up. Like, okay, what's he trying to trick me or this and that? So they're watching what they're saying versus this is like, hey, here's what the phone call is about. Like at the end, we know we can schedule an appointment and I can tell you I don't like you. If not, we just part ways.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you're giving it's like permission-based selling, right? You're giving them permission to say, hey, Dustin, I don't like you. I don't want to deal with you. Totally cool. I totally get it. That doesn't happen. But because I gave them permission to do that, when I go in and talk about, hey, what's your mortgage amount? How does that make you feel? The fact that your, brother's executor of the will and you're not, or, whatever. When I ask more of those personal type questions, it's like, hey, he's coming at this from more of like an advisor standpoint rather than a salesperson. So it's just reframing that whole entire process there so that they have this idea in their head that, especially in our business, we're in acquisitions. I'm not really selling a product or service per se. So it's a little bit different right off the bat. But that's really how you want to approach that situation.
That's super huge stuff there too. So anyone listening that doesn't know what to do on a call, like that's huge just because it'll change your whole game. Now, when you're on a call, obviously you're pre-qualifying them as well. Like what types of things are you looking for that's going to determine if you actually decide to go out and see their house or, hey, you know what, this probably is not the right fit for us?
Right. So like part of that upfront contract was they need to agree that we get an appointment. We need to agree too, right? So how do we agree? Um, I am pretty big on I am not going to waste people's time. If we don't have something that works for them, I know it's not going to work for them. There's no point in continuing, right? Wasting their time, wasting our time. So we're qualifying them on four main pillars. So it would be timeline. How quickly do they want to sell? If they're looking 6 months, a year down the road, we're probably just going to follow up with them and revisit. Condition of the property, that's another big one. If they have an absolutely turnkey property that needs no work, they better have some serious motivation of why they want to sell it at a discount. I'm not saying that lead isn't going to be a lead. It's just, what I just said. There better be some serious motivation of why they want to sell. That's the third component is motivation. And a good question for that motivation component is, hey, what got you interested in selling to an investor?
Yeah.
It's an open-ended question, right? What you're taught in sales, right? But it's not like, hey, why are you selling? Why are you selling your house? Or another good one is, what were you hoping that my company could help you accomplish by buying your house for cash? You would be amazed at some of the responses you get off of that question. The fourth one is price. So we do ask for price. I will say, and I teach my guy this too, if they qualify on the three other pillars and they don't necessarily qualify on price right off the bat, we will still go on that appointment. I've been on appointments where someone told me they wanted $150,000 and we walked away with a contract for 85. So price is probably the least important of that, but I at least want to get an idea of where their head's at and what they're thinking. And like I said, if they're hitting all those other pillars, it doesn't really matter. Now, of course, if they're not hitting some of the other pillars, but they say, hey, I only want $50,000 for this house. It doesn't need any work. And it's worth 100. I'm going on that appointment.
Right. I hear you. That's good stuff there too. Maybe when you're starting, you get to meet everybody, but yeah, once your time gets starting to get limited, you got to pick and choose who you're going through. And those are good points on how to kind of pre-qualify them.
Right. Absolutely.
And I know you're big on this too. About it's more important to find out their need and find out what their problems are.
In sales, a lot of people think of sales as, I'm trying to close this guy or gal. I have to put a little pressure on them to get them to the close. That's not what we're doing. At least in my experience, that's not the way that sales should work. Pretty much what we're doing is the first step is like the discovery step of like, hey, what are you trying to accomplish? I can't give you an offer until I know what it is that you're trying to do. And the reason why we're asking those questions is because when we do a fulfillment or fulfillment stage is what I call it, but we're pretty much making our pitch is more or less what it is. I'm reverting back to some of that pain and motivation that we already talked about and fulfilling that pain and motivation with my solution. So really all I'm doing is I'm connecting the dots inside of the seller's head. They're selling themselves. I'm just painting the picture of, hey, here's where they're at. Here's where they want to be. And here's how I can get you there. Again, am I selling them something? Yes. But we're reframing it to the point that it doesn't feel like, it's just more of a friendly, hey, I came with a problem and I'm helping them find the solution to their problem by working with our company. That's all it is.
Yeah. And that's huge too, because a lot of these guys are so high pressure and looking to just benefit themselves as the investor. It's like, okay, if we can find out what your problem is, then we can find a win-win. Like we can find something help you solve your problem and at the same time make a good deal too. So that's super important talking about that, because I know that's what you do a lot. And it's way easier too, because you may even get the deal over some other guys because of the rapport you're building.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The one of my favorite sayings is, in the absence of value, people question price. So when I first got into this, right, it's just straight shotgun approach. We're getting these leads in. I'm going to appointments. I'm like, oh yeah, here 60,000. Oh, here 80,000. Oh, here 100,000. And here's the thing, and here's the interesting thing: marketing alone, getting leads, you will close deals. You could be the suckiest salesperson on the planet, and you will close deals because you're going to meet people motivated enough they're going to sell you no matter what, right? But if I get a sales process and I follow that process every single time, and let's just say it increases my conversion rate, 20%, I'm getting an extra, or, whatever. I'm getting an extra one deal a month just because my sales process is refined. Well, if that's a $10,000 profit, that's $120,000 a year. So just implementing a sale, that's a lot of money.
Huge. That's a good tip right there. So, okay. So we got all that. So you pre-qualify them. They meet 3 or 4 out of the pillars. You're like, okay, hey, I'm going to come see you. How's that work? What's next?
So, let's say, we go through that whole entire process and they want the appointment. We want the appointment, right? Think we could do something there. So we are going to go back to the beginning and do another upfront contract. Hey, this is exactly how this is going to go down, right? We're going to need about 45 minutes to an hour of your time. So there's time allotted. The objective of this meeting is to figure out what kind of repairs the property needs and come up with a repair estimate for that. Also, on our back end, we're going to do some research to see what other properties in the area have been selling for. So they know exactly what you're doing before you come on that appointment. And then, hey, our objective here is determine that after seeing the house and running our research, can we come up with a reasonable offer that's going to work for you? So another upfront contract.
That's nice. Yeah. So I mean, that just takes the pressure off because then they kind of know what's happening even when you show up too.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know how many times like before I was doing this, or you just like show up to the door and they're like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
I never want them asking, okay, now what? Ever.
Yeah. And they're always guarded. I mean, think about like if someone comes to your house as a salesman or something, like your guard's up, So it does break the barriers down and put you more on an even level.
Right.
It gets that commitment and all that kind of stuff from them. So, okay. So you go meet them. They know what's going on. What then?
So once we get to the house, we're actually doing another upfront contract again, just to remind them of what's going to happen. So that's actually, just to hit that real quick, that's done before and after every single step. So phone call, appointment, fulfillment, because I fulfill it, right? We sign a contract. We got another upfront contract again. Something's got to happen after that.
Right.
So you're doing that before and after every step. What I like to do personally, and this is a tip I picked up from actually someone in our area a couple years ago, is that I don't like to walk right into, hey, let's walk around the house and look at stuff. I kind of want to carry on our conversation again that we started over the phone and dig a little bit deeper into what their pain and motivation is. And we'll kind of, once we have that conversation, I'll normally transition to, hey, can you give me a tour around the house and just so I can take a look and come up with an idea of what the repairs would be.
Okay, cool. And that's so interesting with the upfront contract, beginning of every conversation too, because I know a lot of times, even when like trying to close properties and stuff, like if communication is not there, it becomes stressful. So in this case, they always know what's going on and the communication is always there. So it's like a seamless process. They never really have to worry about it.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So you walk around the house, look at everything, you build a report at the property, find out, okay, it looks like a good deal or not a good deal. Are you giving them an offer on the spot or what are you doing?
So, especially if it's a house that's very easy to comp, and I know that I don't really need to see the inside of it in order to come up with a good ARV. I will give an offer on the spot. If it's, this is Pittsburgh. For anyone that doesn't know this area, our neighborhoods vary street to street sometimes, and a lot of it depends on the inside of the property. So, if it is kind of like a weird property that has like a weird layout, or it kind of wasn't what I was expecting, then if I have to go run numbers again, then I will give an offer over the phone.
Okay, and I'm guessing you're going to give them an upfront contract there too, telling them, hey, I'm going to go back, run my numbers, and then call you with an offer or something like that.
So yeah, something along those lines. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so that's interesting. So that's pretty much start to finish, and you have a pretty high close rate. Like, what do you think your close rate is?
So it's actually been down recently just because we introduced a new marketing channel this year, and it hasn't been doing so well. Yeah. So, but if I took that marketing channel out of the equation, we're running about 12% right now.
All right, cool. And just so everybody knows, Motivated Leads is not the marketing channel. Me and Dustin are both in Pittsburgh. So we've been talking about doing a marketing, but we invest here too. So we kind of have a mutual thing that we do JV, but we are not the marketing channel that's decreasing the percentages. But
no, it is not motivated leads.
But so what did you say the number? Like, say you don't count that one. Like on average though, because you have a pretty high close rate.
Yeah. So we're right now with that marketing channel in play, we're like 9%.
Okay.
Which is still, I
still
think
pretty solid.
Yeah, it's still pretty solid. If you're at 15%, you're killing it. 10% is really, really good. Anything below 10, it kind of just depends on what you're doing. Obviously, we're mostly inbound leads. These are higher intent people. I'm not going to say they're easier to close necessarily, but there's less follow-up involved usually.
Yeah. And then to talk on numbers there too, because what's the average lead cost here? Probably $150. Is it give or take?
Yeah, about that. Yep.
So you figure you're talking without a management fee or anything, you have $1,500 in ad spend, you're locking down a deal. So pretty solid. Average deal is probably what, 10K or something on wholesale?
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, if we're doing flip or rental, I mean,
yeah, way bigger.
10X that, but
right. Yeah. So, and even everyone else's cities, like you can kind of figure that out too. And that's why sales is so huge, because if you're at 7%, you can go to 10%. That's a big jump. You know what I mean? If you look at over the course of the year, or go from 10 to 15, like if you can make those small incremental changes to increase your close rate, like there's different ways to make extra money. You can increase your sales or increase your leads or sell more people. You know what I mean? So this way you can not raise your budget and still increase your income just by learning a new skill set.
Absolutely.
Cool. So what out of all sales, what do you think the number one tip would be out of all this stuff if someone could only take away one thing from this episode?
Get a sales process. Simple as that. Right, you have to have some type of sales process.
Yeah.
Ours is based off of Sandler method. You can pick up their book. I forget. You probably remember what the name of the book is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have it down here somewhere too.
Sandler Rules for Lead. They got a bunch of. Just go on Amazon, check them out. Sandler.
Yeah. Yep. I personally believe through all my experience that has been the best sales process to use personally. It talks about the Sandler submarine, where there's different compartments that you're moving the lead through as you progress through the sales process. But anyway, that is 100% my biggest tip. Just have one. If you are going in blind, right? It's just shotgun approach. Same thing with marketing. If you're not doing a targeting list, it's just shotgun, and you're not going to have as good of results.
Right. Yeah. All right, cool. And then, hey, if anyone wants to reach out to you or connect with you, how do they do that?
So you can go on our website, which I believe you're going to have a link to, and just hit the contact us page and just leave me a little note. Also, you can shoot me an email too if you want. It's just Dustin, DUSTIN, at DustinBuysHouses.net.
Okay. And then the website, if they want to do the contact form, is also DustinBuysHouses.net.
Yep.
All right, cool, man. Hey, thanks for coming on. It was a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
All right, man. Hey, we'll talk soon.
All right. Sounds good.